The conference room felt like a courtroom, and I was the defendant in a trial I hadn't known was scheduled. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the 52nd floor, I could see the city glittering with Christmas lights, families rushing home with wrapped presents, people embracing on street corners below. Up here the holiday spirit had died. My husband sat behind his mahogany desk, fingers steepled like a judge about to deliver a sentence. Julian Carter, CEO of Carter Industries, Billionaire, and the man who had promised to love me until death parted us. 6 years of marriage, 8 years together total, and it had come to this. But it was the woman sitting in the chair beside his desk that made my stomach turn. Amber Reeves wore a red dress that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent, her legs crossed, her smile sharp as a knife. She looked at me like I was something stuck to the bottom of her expensive shoe. "Simone," Julian said, his voice cold and professional, as if I were just another employee and not the woman who had shared his bed that very morning. "We need to discuss a serious matter." I stood in the center of the room, my blue blazer and matching skirt suddenly feeling like armor that was too thin. My hands stayed steady at my sides. I had known this moment was coming. I had prepared for it. But knowing and experiencing were two different things. "Amber has brought several complaints to my attention," Julian continued, glancing at her with a softness he hadn't shown me in months. "She feels that you've been creating a hostile work environment for her." The words hung in the air like poison gas. I almost laughed. Almost. Instead, I kept my face perfectly neutral. "Hostile work environment?" I repeated quietly. "Yes." Amber leaned forward, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "You've been excluding me from important meetings, giving me menial tasks despite my position, and making derogatory comments about my relationship with Julian." My relationship with Julian. She said it so casually, so openly, as if she weren't talking about my husband, as if I were the other woman here. "These are serious allegations," Julian said, and I noticed he couldn't quite meet my eyes. "The board is concerned about workplace conduct, especially at the executive level." "The board?" I said, my voice still calm. "I see. So here's what's going to happen." Julian stood now, buttoning his suit jacket, a charcoal gray that I had helped him pick out last month. "You're going to apologize to Amber for your behavior. You're going to commit to creating a more inclusive environment going forward. And if you do this, we can move past it." "And if I don't?" The question came out steadier than I felt. Julian's jaw tightened. "Then I'll have to recommend to the board that your recent promotion be reconsidered. Your salary would revert to your previous level. Your position would be re-evaluated." There it was. The threat. The power play. My husband using his position as CEO to force me to bow down to his mistress. To humiliate me. To break me. I looked at Amber, who was practically glowing with satisfaction. She thought she had won. She thought this was her moment of triumph. "You want me to apologize?" I said slowly. "That's right." Julian crossed his arms. "I need to hear you say it, Simone. Apologize to Amber and we can all move forward like professionals." The clock on the wall ticked. Outside, I heard someone laughing in the hallway, probably heading to the company Christmas party that was starting in an hour. Mistletoe and champagne and people pretending everything was fine. I looked at my husband. Really looked at him. The man I had loved since I was 24 years old. The man whose company I had helped build with my strategies, my ideas, my sleepless nights. The man whose presentations I had written, whose image I had carefully crafted for the media. The man who was now threatening my career to protect his affair. Something crystallized inside me. A coldness that was almost peaceful. "Okay," I said. Julian blinked. "What?" "Okay. I'll do what you want." I smiled, small and polite. "Is that all?" Amber's face showed confusion. She had wanted more. A fight maybe. Tears. Begging. Something to save her. Julian looked uncertain now. "You'll apologize?" I said okay. I turned toward the door. "If there's nothing else, I have some things to handle before the end of the day." "Simone, wait." Julian took a step toward me. "That's it? You're not going to argue?" I paused, my hand on the doorknob. "You've made your position clear. I've given you my answer. What else is there to say?" I walked out before either of them could respond. The hallway stretched before me, bright and empty. My heels clicked against the marble floor. My reflection in the window showed a woman in a blue suit, her dark hair perfectly styled, her makeup flawless. I looked completely composed. Inside, I was counting down the hours. 3 months. 3 months of careful planning, of quiet documentation, of building my escape route so carefully that no one had noticed. 3 months since I had first discovered the affair and decided that I would not be destroyed by it. I would not beg, would not cry, would not make myself smaller so that they could feel bigger. I walked to my office, locked the door, and pulled out my phone. The first message went to Grace Wellington, my lawyer. It's time. Execute everything. The second message went to Patricia Hughes in HR. Transfer approved? Need confirmation by end of day. The third message was to my bank. Proceed with account separation as planned. I opened my laptop and began the final steps. Files uploaded to secure servers. Emails scheduled to send at midnight. Documents queued for distribution to the board of directors, to regulatory agencies, to journalists who had been waiting for this story. Everything I had built, everything I had discovered, everything that would burn Julian's world to ashes while I walked away clean. The promotion he was threatening to take away? I didn't need it. The salary he was holding over my head? I had already secured something better. The position at this company? I was done with it. By the time I finished, the sun was setting. The Christmas party had started 2 floors below. I could hear music filtering up through the vents. I looked around my office one last time. The awards on the wall, all the late nights, all the victories I had won for this company. My phone buzzed. Grace, everything filed and ready. London transfer confirmed. Documents will distribute at midnight as scheduled. Patricia, transfer approved. Effective immediately. New contract in your email. Congratulations on the promotion, Regional Director. I allowed myself one real smile then. Regional Director of European Operations, based in London. A position I had been quietly interviewing for over the past 2 months. A position that was actually above the one Julian was threatening to take away. I packed my personal items into a box. Not much really. A photo of my parents, a plant someone had given me years ago, a coffee mug that said, "Nevertheless, she persisted." Fitting. As I walked to the elevator with my box, I passed the conference room where Julian had delivered his ultimatum. Through the glass walls I could see it was empty now. He was probably downstairs at the party, Amber on his arm, both of them thinking they had won. They had no idea what was coming at midnight. The lobby was decorated with an enormous Christmas tree, white lights twinkling. The security guard Marcus waved at me. "Merry Christmas, Mrs. Carter? Heading out early?" "Merry Christmas," I replied. "Yes, I have some traveling to do." "Safe travels," he said, returning to his desk. I walked out into the December evening. The cold air hit my face, clean and sharp. I hailed a taxi, gave my home address, and leaned back against the seat. My phone buzzed again. "Julian, where are you?" "Party started. People are asking for you." I deleted the message without responding. Another buzz. "Amber, hope there are no hard feelings. See you at the party?" I blocked her number. The taxi wound through traffic, past shopping centers and restaurants full of people celebrating. The driver had Christmas music playing softly. I watched the city pass by, knowing it was one of the last times I would see it like this. When we reached my house, the gate opened automatically. The large colonial with its perfect lawn and its perfect facade. A house that had never quite felt like a home. I paid the driver and walked up the path. Inside, everything was exactly as I had left it that morning. Neat, clean, organized. A Christmas tree stood in the corner of the living room, presents underneath that would never be opened. I went upstairs to the bedroom and pulled out the suitcases I had hidden in the guest room closet. One by one I began to pack. Clothes, documents, jewelry, everything that mattered. I worked methodically room by room. My things only. Nothing of his. Nothing shared. By 11 o'clock I had 6 suitcases and 3 boxes. Everything else could stay. The furniture, the dishes, the decorations. None of it mattered. I sat down at the kitchen table and wrote a note. Simple, direct. "Julian, I'm gone. Don't contact me. My lawyer will be in touch. Check your email at midnight. Simone." I left it on the counter, propped against the coffee maker he would use in the morning. At 11:45 my phone rang. Robert Carter, Julian's father. I answered. "Simone?" His voice was tight, stressed. "Please tell me you didn't send those papers." "What papers, Robert?" "The board. The documents." "Simone, please." "I don't know what you're talking about," I said calmly. "I sent my reports as scheduled. If there's an issue, perhaps you should speak with your son." "Simone, wait." I hung up. At 11:59 I watched the clock. My emails would send in 60 seconds. Documents to the board outlining every stolen idea, every misattributed strategy, every presentation Julian had claimed as his own that was actually mine. Financial records showing questionable expense reports. Evidence of company funds used for personal purposes. Midnight struck. My phone immediately started ringing. I turned it off. I loaded my car, took one last look at the house, and drove away. 3 months earlier, September had arrived with the kind of perfect weather that made people forget summer was ending. I remember because I was sitting in my office reviewing quarterly reports when Julian's calendar notification popped up on my screen. We shared calendars, had for years. Complete transparency, he always said. Partnership in everything. Except the notification was for a hotel. The Grandview downtown. And it was scheduled for 2 hours in the middle of a workday, labeled simply meeting. I stared at it for a long moment. Julian never took meetings at hotels. He preferred the office, preferred control of the environment. This was odd. I told myself there was an explanation. A client who wanted privacy, perhaps. A potential merger that required discretion. But something in my stomach twisted, some instinct that knew before my brain caught up. I didn't confront him. Instead, I did something I had never done before. I checked our credit card statements. The Grandview appeared 3 times in the past month. Always the same day of the week. Always the same 2-hour window. I sat back in my chair, staring at my computer screen. The office around me continued its normal rhythm. Phones ringing, keyboards clicking, someone laughing down the hall. My world was cracking apart and no one else could hear it. That evening, I went home early. Julian was working late, he had said. I made dinner, ate alone, and went to bed. When he came home after midnight, smelling of perfume that wasn't mine, I pretended to be asleep. The next morning, I called Grace Wellington. We had met at a charity function 2 years ago, stayed in touch. She was a divorce attorney, though I never thought I would need one. Grace, I need advice, I said, sitting in my car in the parking garage before work. Hypothetically. Nothing is ever hypothetical when someone calls a divorce lawyer, she replied, her voice kind but direct. What's going on? I told her. The hotel, the credit cards, the late nights, the perfume. She listened without interrupting. First, don't confront him yet, she said. If this is what you think it is, you need to be strategic. Document everything. Separate your finances quietly. Protect yourself before you make any moves. I don't even know for sure, I said. Then find out. But carefully. That afternoon, I hired a private investigator. I felt sick doing it, felt like I was betraying something. But the truth was, he had already done that. I was just uncovering it. The photos came back within a week. Julian and Amber Reeves, leaving the hotel together. Getting into his car. His hand on her back. Her laughing at something he said. Amber Reeves. I knew her. She had been hired 6 months ago as a junior executive in marketing. 28 years old, fresh from graduate school, ambitious and bright. I had interviewed her myself, had thought she showed promise. I stared at the photos for hours. Not crying, just looking. Trying to understand how I had missed it. Trying to remember when Julian had stopped seeing me as a partner and started seeing me as an obstacle. But the affair was only the beginning of what I discovered. I started going through everything. Years of documents, emails, presentations. I had access to all of it through my position as senior marketing director. What I found made the affair seem almost trivial. Strategy proposals I had written, submitted under my name, later presented to the board by Julian as his own ideas. Marketing campaigns I had designed, winning us major contracts, credited to the CEO's vision. Financial projections I had calculated, innovations I had suggested, expansion plans I had drafted. All of it stolen. All of it claimed by my husband as proof of his business genius. I pulled up a presentation from 3 years ago. The European expansion strategy that had made Carter Industries a global player. I had spent 6 months on that plan. Research, analysis, projections, risk assessment. I had presented it to Julian in our home office, excited, passionate. 2 weeks later, he presented it to the board. Exact same slides, exact same data, exact same conclusions. But his name was on it. He took the credit, took the praise, took the bonus. I had told myself it was fine. We were married, what was mine was his, right? We were a team. But we weren't a team. I was the engine and he was taking all the glory. I kept digging. The more I looked, the worse it got. Expense reports for trips that were actually romantic getaways with Amber. Company funds used to buy her jewelry, pay for her apartment, cover her expenses. None of it properly documented. All of it technically fraud. By the end of September, I had built a file 3 inches thick. Evidence of intellectual property theft. Evidence of financial mismanagement. Evidence of using company resources for personal benefit. I met with Grace again, this time in person. Her office was in a high rise with a view of the harbor. She sat across from me reviewing the documents I had brought. "This is substantial," she said finally. "This isn't just a divorce case. This is potential criminal activity." "I don't want to press charges," I said quickly. "I just want out." "Simone, he stole your work. For years. He built his reputation on your ideas." "I know." I looked out at the water, watching boats move across the surface. "But I don't want revenge. I want freedom." Grace studied me. "What do you want then?" "I want a clean break. I want my contributions acknowledged. I want to move on." I paused. "And I want to make sure he can't do this to anyone else." "The board needs to see this," Grace said. "Not as a criminal complaint, but as a business ethics issue. Let them handle it internally." "Agreed. And you need protection. A new position, somewhere he can't touch you professionally." That was when I started looking at the London office. Carter Industries had expanded into Europe 2 years ago, based on my strategy. The division was thriving, growing faster than projections. They needed leadership. I applied quietly through channels Julian wouldn't see. I used my real work portfolio, the one that showed my actual contributions. The interview was conducted via video call with Nathaniel Brooks, the current CEO of European operations. "Your work is impressive," Nathaniel said, looking through my materials. "I had no idea these strategies came from you. The board presentations always attributed them to Julian." "That's part of why I'm looking for a change," I said carefully. Nathaniel was quiet for a moment. "I've met your husband. Brilliant man, everyone says. But looking at this work, I'm starting to wonder how much of that brilliance is actually his." "I'm not here to discredit anyone," I said. "I'm here because I want to lead the European division." "And you should," Nathaniel replied. "This is your work. You should get credit for it." The interview process took 6 weeks. During that time, I watched Julian and Amber get bolder. They started having lunch together in the company cafeteria. She started attending executive meetings she had no reason to be in. He started leaving work early on Wednesdays. I documented all of it. Photos, emails, calendar entries. Grace said it might be useful for the divorce proceedings. At home, Julian and I existed in a strange limbo. We still shared a bed, still ate meals together sometimes. He talked about his day, about board meetings, about strategy decisions. He never mentioned that those strategies were mine. He never mentioned Amber. I played along. Smiled at the right moments. Asked questions. Pretended I didn't know. It was like watching a play where I knew the ending but the other actors didn't. In early October, Patricia Hughes called me into her office. Patricia had been HR director for 15 years, had seen everything. She was fair, professional, impossible to manipulate. "Simone, I need to ask you something confidentially," she said, closing her office door. My heart jumped. Had someone found out what I was planning? "Of course," I said. "Have you noticed anything inappropriate between Julian and Amber Reeves?" I kept my face neutral. "Why do you ask?" Patricia sighed. "I've received complaints. From other employees. About favoritism, about time spent together, about professionalism concerns." "What kind of complaints?" "That she's receiving preferential treatment. That she's attending meetings above her level. That the CEO seems to be personally interested in her career development." Patricia looked uncomfortable. "I have to investigate these things even when they involve the CEO." "What are you going to do?" "I'm gathering information. If there's an inappropriate relationship, it's a conflict of interest. Company policy is clear on that." I saw my opening. "Patricia, I've been considering a transfer. The London position. Is that still available?" Patricia's eyes widened slightly. She was smart enough to read between the lines. "It is," she said slowly. "Are you interested?" "Very. I think it's time for a change." "I can fast-track that application," Patricia said. "Given the circumstances. I would appreciate that." We looked at each other, understanding passing between us without words. She knew. Maybe not all of it, but enough. "Simone," she said as I stood to leave, "whatever you're planning, be careful. Julian has a lot of power here." "So do I said quietly. "He just doesn't realize it yet." October passed in a blur of preparation. Grace filed preliminary divorce papers, held in reserve. I opened new bank accounts, transferred money carefully so it wouldn't be noticed. I gathered more evidence, building my case stronger. Nathaniel offered me the London position in early November. Regional Director of European Operations, a promotion from my current role, reporting directly to the board instead of through Julian. The salary was higher. The authority was greater. and I would be 4,000 miles away. I accepted immediately, but asked that the announcement be delayed until after the holidays. For personal reasons, I said. Nathaniel agreed, though I suspected he knew those personal reasons involved my marriage falling apart. By Thanksgiving I was ready. Papers filed but not served. New position secured but not announced. Evidence compiled but not released. I was a loaded gun waiting for the right moment to fire. Julian and I spent Thanksgiving with his parents. Robert and Susan Carter, good people who had always treated me like a daughter. I felt guilty knowing what was coming, but not guilty enough to stop. Robert pulled me aside after dinner. "You seem different," he said. "Is everything okay?" "Just work stress," I lied. "Big projects coming up." He studied me with those sharp eyes that had built a business empire. "Julian's lucky to have you. You're the steadiest thing in his life." If only he knew. December arrived, and with it the company Christmas party planning. Amber was suddenly on the planning committee, despite having no reason to be. She picked the venue, chose the menu, selected the decorations. Julian approved everything she suggested. I watched it all from a distance, making notes. This would be useful. Patricia called me one afternoon. "Simone, I need to warn you about something." "What?" "Amber has filed a complaint. Against you." My blood went cold. "What kind of complaint?" "Hostile work environment. She claims you've been excluding her from meetings, giving her poor assignments, making derogatory comments." "That's ridiculous." "I know. I've reviewed her file. You've been nothing but professional. But she's insisting Julian address it." "Of course she is." "Be prepared," Patricia said. "This feels orchestrated." She was right. The next day Julian called me into his office. But I was ready. I had been ready for months. The cab ride home from the office that Christmas Eve felt longer than it should have. Traffic was light, most people already home with their families. I watched the streets pass by, decorated windows glowing, and felt nothing. No sadness, no anger. Just a calm clarity that came from knowing exactly what was going to happen next. The driver tried to make conversation about the holidays. I gave polite, short answers. When we arrived at the house, I tipped him well and wished him a Merry Christmas. He drove away, probably heading home to his own family, completely unaware that he had just driven someone to the end of their marriage. Inside, the house was exactly as I had left it that morning. The Christmas tree I had decorated alone stood in the living room corner, white lights twinkling on a timer. Presents wrapped in silver paper sat underneath, gifts I had bought and wrapped for Julian's family. There was even one for Amber, a generic gift basket I had ordered from the corporate account, because appearances mattered. Not anymore. I went upstairs and changed out of my blue suit into comfortable jeans and a red sweater. Then I pulled out my laptop and sat at the kitchen table. The house felt enormous around me, 3,000 square feet of marble and hardwood and expensive furniture. We had bought it 4 years ago, right after Carter Industries went public. Julian's dream house. I had never liked it. Too big, too cold, too much like a showpiece. I opened my laptop and reviewed the files one more time. Everything was organized into folders, clearly labeled, impossible to misunderstand. Folder 1, Stolen Ideas. Every strategy document, marketing plan, and business proposal I had created that Julian had later claimed as his own. I had the originals with my name on them, the timestamps showing when I created them, and the versions he presented to the board with his name replacing mine. Folder 2, Financial Misconduct. Expense reports showing personal purchases charged to company accounts. Hotel rooms, jewelry, dinners, even an apartment lease. All for Amber, all improperly documented. Folder 3, The Affair. Photos from the investigator. Calendar entries. Credit card statements. Text messages I had retrieved from our shared cloud account. Everything documented, dated, verified. Folder 4, My Contributions. A comprehensive record of every major business decision I had influenced, every successful campaign I had designed, every $1 million I had earned for Carter Industries. This was my legacy, proof that I had built as much of this company as Julian had. I had sent copies to Grace weeks ago. She had them in a secure location, ready to be used in divorce proceedings if needed. But tonight these files were going somewhere else. At 8 p.m. I began the process. First, I logged into the company email system using my credentials as Senior Marketing Director. I had legitimate access to everything I was sending. Nothing illegal, nothing stolen. Just information that deserved to see the light. I drafted an email to the board of directors. All 12 of them, including Robert Carter. "Dear board members," I typed. I am submitting this report regarding serious concerns about executive conduct and business ethics at Carter Industries. Please review the attached documents carefully. This information is being provided in the interest of corporate governance and shareholder protection. Respectfully, Simone Carter, Senior Marketing Director. I attached all 4 folders. Then I scheduled the email to send at midnight. The second email went to Patricia Hughes in HR. Similar message, same attachments, also scheduled for midnight. Patricia would be required to investigate once she received it. Company policy was clear. The third email went to our company attorneys. They would have to review everything, would have to advise the board on liability and response. The fourth email went to a business journalist I had met at a conference last year. She had given me her card, told me to reach out if I ever had a story worth telling. I didn't send her everything, just enough to verify that there were irregularities at Carter Industries worth investigating. By 9 p.m., everything was queued and ready. At midnight, while Julian was probably still at the Christmas party with Amber on his arm, his world would start to collapse. I made myself dinner. Pasta with marinara sauce, simple and comforting. I ate at the kitchen table, scrolling through my phone, reading the news. Everything felt surreal, like I was watching myself from outside my body. My phone buzzed. Julian, seriously, where are you? This is embarrassing. I didn't respond. Another message. Julian, people are asking about you. I need you here. Delete. A third message. Julian, fine. Whatever. Be childish. I turned off my phone. After dinner, I went upstairs and began packing. The guest room closet held 3 large suitcases I had bought last month. I pulled them out and started with the bedroom. Clothes first. I took everything that mattered. My favorite jeans, my work clothes, my comfortable sweaters. I left behind the expensive dresses Julian had bought me for company events. The jewelry he had given me for birthdays and anniversaries went into a small box, not because I wanted it but because it might have value in the divorce settlement. The bathroom was next. My toiletries, my medications, my skincare products. I left his side of the counter exactly as it was. From my home office I took my personal laptop, my files, my books. The degrees on the wall came down, my MBA from Columbia, my undergraduate diploma. These were mine. I had earned them before I ever met Julian. I worked methodically, room by room. The photos of my family came with me. The artwork I had bought with my own money before the marriage. My grandmother's quilt. My mother's recipe box. I left our wedding photos on the wall. Let him take them down. By 11 p.m., I had 6 suitcases packed and 3 boxes of personal items. I carried them downstairs and lined them up by the front door. Then I went back to the kitchen table and pulled out a piece of paper. The note needed to be simple. No explanations, no accusations, no emotion. Just facts. Julian, I wrote. I'm gone. Don't contact me. My lawyer will be in touch. Check your email at midnight. Simone. I left it propped against the coffee maker, where he would see it first thing in the morning. Then I sat down and waited. The house was silent except for the ticking of the clock in the hallway. Outside, I could hear occasional cars passing, people coming home from Christmas Eve celebrations. At 11:30 my phone rang. I had turned it back on knowing this call would come. Robert Carter. Julian's father and chairman of the board. I answered. Hello, Robert. Simone. His voice was tight, stressed in a way I had never heard before. Please tell me you didn't send those papers. What papers? I kept my voice neutral. The board. Someone scheduled an email to the board. For midnight. About Julian. Please tell me it wasn't you. How did he know? Then I realized he must have IT access, must have seen the queued messages somehow. Or maybe someone had tipped him off. I sent my regular reports, I said calmly. If there's an issue with that, perhaps you should speak with your son. Simone listened to me. Robert's voice took on a pleading tone. Whatever is happening between you and Julian, we can work it out. Don't do this. Don't send whatever you're planning to send. I'm not planning anything, Robert. The divorce papers. Grace Wellington filed them this afternoon. I have friends in the court system. They called me. So that's how he knew. Grace had warned me this might happen, that preliminary filings could leak. Those are private legal matters, I said. And the board email? The documents? Simone, if you do this, you'll destroy him. I'm not destroying anything, I said quietly. I'm just telling the truth. There are other ways to handle this. Private ways. We can settle everything quietly. Money, assets, whatever you want. I don't want money, Robert. Then what do you want? He sounded desperate now. I want what I've earned. I want credit for my work. I want my husband to stop using company funds to pay for his girlfriend's apartment. I want the truth. Silence on the other end. Then quietly, what are you talking about? Check the documents when they arrive. You'll understand. Simone, wait. Robert's voice cracked. Please. He's my son. And I was your daughter-in-law. For 6 years. But that didn't stop him from humiliating me, stealing my work, and threatening my career to protect his affair. His affair. Robert sounded genuinely shocked. Amber Reeves. 6 months. Maybe longer. The documents have proof. Another long silence. Then Robert said very quietly, I didn't know. Most people don't. That's how affairs work. Simone, I'm sorry. If I had known. It doesn't matter now. What's done is done. Can we talk? After the holidays? Please. Your lawyers can talk to my lawyer. I have nothing else to say. At least tell me where you're going. Are you safe? Something in his voice made me soften slightly. Robert had always been kind to me. This wasn't his fault. I'm safe, I said. I have a new position. London. I'll be fine. London? He sounded stunned. When? It's been in the works for a while. The transfer is effective immediately. Does Julian know? He will soon. Simone. Robert's voice was heavy now. I understand why you're angry. If everything you're saying is true, you have every right to be. But destroying his career? Is that really what you want? I'm not destroying his career, I said. I'm just removing my contributions from it. Let's see how much of his genius remains when people realize which ideas were actually his. That's not fair. Fair? I laughed, bitter and short. Robert, nothing about this has been fair. I built that company alongside him. I created strategies that made millions. I worked nights and weekends. And he put his name on everything. He took credit for my work, and when I found out about his affair, he threatened to take away my promotion and cut my salary unless I apologized to his girlfriend. To his girlfriend, Robert. In his office. On Christmas Eve. Silence. He what? Robert finally said. You'll see the calendar entries. He called me into his office today. Amber was there. He demanded I apologize to her or lose my position and my salary. That can't be true. Check his calendar. Check his office security footage. It's all there. Robert was quiet for a long moment. I'll handle this, he finally said. There's nothing to handle. It's already done. Simone, please. I have to go, Robert. Merry Christmas. I hung up. At 11:45, I looked around the house one last time. This had been my home for 4 years, but I felt nothing leaving it. No nostalgia, no regret. It was just a building, just walls and floors and expensive furniture that had never made me happy. I carried my suitcases to my car, loading them carefully in the trunk and back seat. The boxes went in last. Everything I owned that mattered fit into one vehicle. I went back inside and did a final check. Phone charger, laptop, important documents. Everything else could stay. At 11:55, I stood in the foyer, my coat on, my keys in my hand. 5 minutes until midnight. 5 minutes until the email sent. I thought about Julian at the Christmas party, laughing and drinking champagne, Amber beside him. Thinking he had won. Thinking I had bent to his will. I thought about Amber in her red dress, smiling her sharp smile, believing she had claimed some kind of victory. They had no idea. At exactly midnight, my phone began to buzz with notifications. The emails were sending. I turned off my phone again and walked out the front door. The December air was cold and clean. I got in my car, started the engine, and drove away from the house without looking back. Julian woke to silence. That was the first strange thing. Usually, he heard sounds from the kitchen by 7 a.m. Simone making coffee, the clink of mugs, sometimes music playing softly from her phone. The house had a rhythm to its mornings, and this wasn't it. He rolled over, reaching for her side of the bed. Cold. She hadn't slept there. He sat up, rubbing his face. The Christmas party had gone late, probably past 2 a.m. He had drunk too much champagne, laughed too loud at stories that weren't that funny. Amber had stayed close to him all night, her hand on his arm, her perfume surrounding him. They had been careful not to be too obvious, but everyone must have known. People weren't stupid. Simone hadn't shown up. That had annoyed him at first, made him look foolish. But then he decided it didn't matter. She had said okay to the apology, had seemed to accept the situation. Maybe she was just sulking at home. Women did that sometimes. She would get over it. He pulled on sweatpants and a t-shirt and headed downstairs. The house was completely silent. Not just quiet but empty in a way that felt wrong. "Simone?" he called out. No answer. He walked to the kitchen, expecting to find her sitting at the table with coffee, maybe reading on her tablet. Instead, he found a single piece of paper propped against the coffee maker. "Julian, I'm gone. Don't contact me. My lawyer will be in touch. Check your email at midnight. Simone." He read it 3 times. The words didn't make sense. Gone? What did that mean, gone? He grabbed his phone from the counter and called her. Straight to voicemail. He tried again. Same result. A cold feeling started in his stomach. He ran upstairs, taking the steps 2 at a time. Their bedroom looked the same at first glance, but when he opened her closet, it was half empty. Her work clothes, her casual clothes, her shoes. Gone. The bathroom was the same. Her side of the counter was cleared out. No makeup, no bottles, no toothbrush. He checked the guest room. Empty suitcases he hadn't known they owned were gone. The hall closet showed the same story. Her coats missing. Julian stood in the hallway, his heart pounding. This wasn't sulking. This was leaving. He pulled up his email on his phone, scrolling back to midnight. Nothing from Simone. What had she wanted him to check? Then he saw it. An email from the company system, time stamped at 12 a.m. Subject line, board review required. He opened it. Dear board members, I am submitting this report regarding serious concerns about executive conduct and business ethics at Carter Industries. Please review the attached documents carefully. There were 4 files attached. His hand trembled as he clicked the first one. Stolen ideas, the folder was labeled. Inside were dozens of documents. Strategy proposals, marketing plans, business presentations. He recognized them immediately. These were his presentations, his strategies, the work that had made him look like a genius to the board. Except each document showed Simone's name as the original author. Timestamps from weeks or months before he had presented them. Metadata showing she had created them, modified them, perfected them. And then his versions with his name replacing hers. Dated later. Otherwise identical. His legs felt weak. He sat down hard on the bedroom floor. The second folder was worse. Financial records showing expense reports. Hotels, dinners, gifts. All charged to company accounts. All for Amber. Every transaction documented, highlighted, with notes explaining what each purchase actually was. The jewelry he had given Amber. Charged to client gifts. The hotel rooms. Charged to business meetings. Her apartment lease. Somehow running through a company subsidiary as consultant housing. The third folder made him feel sick. Photos of him and Amber. Leaving hotels. Getting in his car. At restaurants. The timestamps showed months of documentation. Text messages. He clicked through them, seeing his own words. Things he had written to Amber. Intimate things. Promises he had made. Calendar entries showing meetings that were actually their time together. The fourth folder was perhaps the cruelest. A complete record of Simone's contributions to Carter Industries. Every successful campaign traced back to her initial ideas. Every major contract won because of strategies she had designed. Profit margins improved by plans she had implemented. Line by line, dollar by dollar, it showed exactly how much of Carter Industries' success was actually hers. At the bottom was a summary. Conservative estimate. 60% of the company's growth over the past 6 years came directly from her work. 60%. Julian's phone rang. His father. He answered without thinking. Did you see it? Robert's voice was ice cold. Dad, Did you see what she sent to the entire board? I'm looking at it now. You have 1 hour to get to my house. We need to talk. Now. Dad, I can explain. You have 1 hour, Julian. Not a minute more. Robert hung up. Julian tried calling Simone again. Still voicemail. He sent a text. We need to talk. Please. Message delivered but not read. Another text. Simone, this is crazy. Just talk to me. Not read. He called Amber. She answered on the first ring, her voice sleepy. Julian? It's early. Have you checked your email? What? No, I just woke up. What's wrong? Check your work email. Now. He heard rustling, then silence. Then Amber gasped. Oh my God. Did you receive the same thing I did? There's an email from HR. They want to see me today. For an investigation. Julian, what is this? Simone sent documents to the board. About us. About everything. What do you mean, everything? The affair. The expenses. All of it. Amber's voice went sharp. You said there was no paper trail. You said you were careful. I thought I was. You thought. Her voice was rising now. Julian, this is my career. My reputation. You said we would be fine, that no one would find out. Amber, calm down. Don't tell me to calm down. I could lose my job. I could be blacklisted in this industry. We'll figure it out. We. Amber laughed, bitter and scared. There is no we. Not anymore. I'm not going down for this. What are you saying? I'm saying I need to protect myself. I'm saying this is your problem, not mine. Amber. She hung up. Julian sat on the floor, surrounded by expensive furniture in an empty house, watching his life collapse through a phone screen. He got dressed in a daze. Dark suit, blue tie. Armor for the battle ahead. He made coffee, forced himself to drink it. His hands shook. The drive to his father's house took 20 minutes. Robert lived in an estate outside the city, 10 acres of manicured lawns and old money. Julian had grown up here, had learned business at his father's knee. Now he was driving there like a child called to the principal's office. Robert was waiting in his study, standing by the window. He didn't turn when Julian entered. Sit, Robert said. Julian sat in one of the leather chairs. His father's study had always intimidated him. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, antique desk, portrait of his grandfather on the wall. 3 generations of Carter men, all successful. All respected. Robert finally turned. His face was tired, older than Julian had ever seen it. Explain, Robert said. Dad, it's not. Explain how you stole your wife's work for 6 years. Explain how you used company funds to pay for your affair. Explain how you called her into your office on Christmas Eve and demanded she apologize to your mistress or lose her job. Julian's mouth went dry. Simone told you about that? I called her last night. Tried to stop her from sending those documents. She told me everything. She's exaggerating. Julian. Robert's voice cracked like a whip. I have spent 3 hours this morning reviewing every document she sent. I had our attorneys look at it. I had our accountants verify the financial records. It's all true. Every single accusation. Verified. Documented. Undeniable. I can explain. You used her ideas and claimed them as your own. That's intellectual property theft. If she wanted to sue, she would win. We're married. What's hers is mine. That's not how corporate authorship works, and you know it. Every strategy document should have had her name on it. Every presentation should have credited her. You deliberately removed her attribution and claimed sole credit. Julian looked at the floor. And the expenses. Robert's voice was disgusted now. You charged personal expenses to the company. You hid an affair using corporate funds. That's embezzlement, Julian. That's fraud. I was going to reimburse. When? After another 6 months? Another year? Those expenses total over $300,000. The number made Julian's stomach turn. And then? Robert leaned forward. Then, when she discovered your affair, you threatened her. You used your position as CEO to coerce her into apologizing to the woman you were cheating with. Do you have any idea how many laws that breaks? How many policies? I was trying to handle a difficult situation. You were protecting yourself at her expense. Robert walked to his desk, picked up a folder. This is from Patricia Hughes in HR. She's been investigating complaints about favoritism and inappropriate relationships for 2 months. She has statements from 6 employees who witnessed your behavior with Amber Reeves. She has evidence of preferential treatment, of inappropriate conduct, of creating a hostile work environment. Those employees are just gossips. They're witnesses, Julian. Credible witnesses who can testify that you violated company policy repeatedly. Julian felt the walls closing in. What does the board want to do? The board meets in 2 hours. Emergency session. They want answers. What do I tell them? Robert looked at his son with something like pity. You tell them the truth. You admit what you did. You take responsibility. If I do that, they'll remove me as CEO. They might remove you anyway. The words hung in the air. Julian stood up, pacing. This is insane. Simone is ruining everything because she's jealous. Jealous? Robert's voice was sharp. Your wife built this company as much as you did. Maybe more. And you repaid her by stealing credit for her work, cheating on her, and then trying to destroy her career. And you think she's the problem? I made Carter Industries what it is. Did you? Robert opened another folder. According to these documents, Simone developed the European expansion strategy that tripled our revenue. Simone designed the digital marketing campaign that won us our biggest contracts. Simone created the operational efficiency programs that increased our profit margins. What exactly did you contribute, Julian? I implemented those strategies. Any CEO could implement a strategy. The genius is in creating it. And she was the one creating. Julian sat down again, his head in his hands. What do I do? You face the consequences. You cooperate with the investigation. You make restitution for the expenses. You settle the divorce fairly. And you hope the board decides you're worth keeping. And if they don't? Robert was quiet for a moment. Then you learn what it's like to build something on your own. Without her. Julian's phone buzzed. A message from Amber. I've been put on administrative leave. My lawyer says I should cooperate with the investigation. I'm sorry, Julian, but I have to protect myself. Another message, this one from the company attorneys. Need to meet immediately regarding board inquiry. Please confirm availability. A third message from Patricia Hughes. Mr. Carter, please report to my office at 2 p.m. for a formal interview regarding HR complaints. His phone kept buzzing. Messages from board members, from executives, from people who had heard the news and wanted to know what was happening. His world was collapsing in real time, message by message. Where did she go? Julian asked quietly. Simone. Where is she? London, Robert said. She has a new position. Regional Director of European Operations. Julian's head snapped up. What? She's been transferred. Effective immediately. It's actually a promotion from her current role. That's my division. I oversee Europe. Not anymore. The board approved her transfer last month. They were just waiting for the right time to announce it. But I'm the CEO. How did I not know about this? Because she applied through proper channels and kept it confidential. Because Nathaniel Brooks requested her specifically. Because she has the qualifications and the track record. Robert paused. The real track record. Not the one you claimed. Julian felt everything slipping away. His wife, his reputation, his career. All of it, gone in the space of 12 hours. I need to talk to her, he said. She won't answer. I need to explain. Explain what? That you didn't mean to cheat? That you didn't mean to steal her work? That you didn't mean to humiliate her? I love her. Robert looked at him with something like sadness. If this is how you treat someone you love, I'd hate to see how you treat your enemies. Julian stood up. I'm going to fix this. How? I don't know. But I'll find a way. Julian. Robert's voice stopped him at the door. Sometimes the only way to fix something is to let it go. Let her go. Let her have the life she deserves. The life you took from her. Julian walked out without responding. He got in his car and just sat there, gripping the steering wheel. His phone kept buzzing with messages. The board meeting was in 90 minutes. The HR interview in 4 hours. His whole life, scheduled out in appointments where people would decide his fate. He pulled up Simone's contact and stared at it. His thumb hovered over the call button. But he didn't press it. Because deep down he knew Robert was right. There was nothing he could say that would fix this. Nothing he could do that would make it right. He had lost her. And it was entirely his fault. The boardroom on the 55th floor of Carter Industries headquarters had never felt so cold. Julian sat at the end of the massive conference table, 12 pairs of eyes watching him with expressions ranging from disappointment to open hostility. His father sat at the opposite end, face carefully neutral, playing his role as chairman despite the personal nature of the crisis. Patricia Hughes sat to the side with the company's legal team, 3 attorneys in dark suits with folders full of evidence. The same evidence Simone had sent at midnight. The same evidence that was now being projected on the screen behind him, slide after damning slide. Let's begin, Robert said, his voice formal. We're here to address the allegations submitted by Senior Marketing Director Simone Carter regarding executive conduct, financial impropriety, and intellectual property concerns. One of the board members, Margaret Ching, spoke first. She was a sharp woman in her 60s, a former CEO herself. She had never liked Julian much. Mr. Carter, she said, I've reviewed the documents provided. Can you confirm that the strategy proposals attributed to you in board presentations were originally authored by your wife? Julian's throat felt tight. The strategies were developed collaboratively. That's not what I asked. Margaret's eyes were hard. Were these documents originally created and written by Simone Carter, yes or no? Silence stretched out. The attorneys watched him carefully. Any lie here would make things worse. Yes, he finally said. And did you remove her name from these documents and present them as solely your own work? I implemented the strategies. I thought. Yes or no, Mr. Carter? Yes. The board members exchanged glances. Someone whispered something. Julian felt sweat forming at his collar. Another board member, Thomas Green, leaned forward. These documents show that approximately 60% of our growth initiatives over the past 6 years originated from Simone's work. Is that accurate? Julian wanted to argue, to explain that it was more complicated than that. But the documents were right there. Time-stamped. Verified. Undeniable. The number seems high, he said weakly. Is it inaccurate? Thomas pressed. I don't know. I haven't calculated it. Patricia Hughes spoke up. Our analysis confirms the 60% figure is conservative. It may actually be higher. The room went quiet. Julian could hear the heating system, could hear someone's pen clicking nervously. Let's move to the financial concerns, Robert said, his voice still carefully neutral. Mr. Carter, the expense reports show approximately $315,000 in charges to company accounts over the past 6 months. Can you explain these expenses? Julian looked at the spreadsheet on the screen. Every hotel room, every dinner, every gift. All highlighted. All explained in Simone's careful notes. Some of those were legitimate business expenses, he tried. And the others? Robert's eyes were steady. Personal. Personal expenses charged to the company? I was going to reimburse them. When? Margaret asked. We have 6 months of charges here. When exactly were you planning to repay the company? Julian had no answer. The lead attorney, Franklin Morris, spoke next. Mr. Carter, do you understand that charging personal expenses to corporate accounts constitutes fraud? That it's potentially criminal? I didn't think of it that way. I thought. You thought you were above the rules? Margaret finished. You thought your position protected you. No, I just. Let me be very clear, Franklin said. These expense reports, combined with the documentation provided, constitute a strong case for embezzlement. The company could press charges. Mrs. Carter could press charges. The shareholders could sue. Do you understand the severity of this situation? Julian felt the room spinning. Criminal charges. Lawsuits. He had thought this was just a marriage problem, just a HR issue. But it was so much bigger. Now, Robert said, let's discuss the relationship with Amber Reeves. Another board member, James Patterson, pulled up new slides. Screenshots of calendar entries, photos, text messages. Mr. Carter, company policy clearly prohibits romantic relationships between executives and subordinates without proper disclosure and management. Did you have a romantic relationship with Ms. Reeves? We were involved, Julian admitted. But it didn't affect work. Didn't affect work? Patricia's voice was sharp. Mr. Carter, we have statements from 6 employees documenting preferential treatment of Ms. Reeves. She was invited to executive meetings she had no business attending. She was given high-profile assignments beyond her experience level. She was placed on committees without proper justification. I thought she showed potential. And the apartment lease? Thomas asked. The one running through our subsidiary company as consultant housing? Ms. Reeves is a full-time employee, not a consultant. That apartment was personal, wasn't it? Julian looked at the floor. The relationship itself is a violation, Patricia continued. But using company resources to support that relationship is grounds for immediate termination. And then there's the matter of Christmas Eve. The screen changed. Security camera footage. Julian and Amber in his office, Simone standing in front of the desk. We don't have audio, Patricia said, but we have Simone's written statement about what occurred. You demanded she apologize to Ms. Reeves or face demotion and salary reduction. Is that accurate? Julian's face burned. Seeing it played out on screen, watching himself gesture while Simone stood there calmly, it looked even worse than it had felt at the time. I was trying to resolve workplace conflict, he said. By threatening your wife's career? Margaret's voice dripped with contempt. By using your power as CEO to coerce her into apologizing to the woman you were having an affair with? It wasn't like that. Then how was it, Mr. Carter? Robert's voice was hard now, his chairman role overriding any fatherly protection. Explain to this board how that situation was anything other than abuse of power and harassment. Julian had no explanation. What could he say? That he had been trying to keep Amber happy? That he had wanted Simone to just go along with it? That he had thought he could control everything? I made a mistake, he said quietly. A mistake. James laughed bitterly. Mr. Carter, you've committed fraud, stolen intellectual property, violated company policy, and harassed an employee. That's not a mistake. That's a pattern of unethical behavior. Franklin the attorney spoke again. Mr. Carter, I need to advise you that anything you say here can and will be used in potential legal proceedings. You have the right to have your own attorney present. I don't need an attorney, Julian said. I'm cooperating fully. Are you? Margaret asked. Because from where I sit, you're making excuses. You're minimizing. You're not taking real responsibility. What do you want me to say? Julian's frustration finally broke through. That I messed up? Fine. I messed up. I shouldn't have done any of it. Is that what you want to hear? We want the truth, Robert said. We want to understand how one of our executives spent 6 years stealing credit from his wife, committing financial fraud, and creating a hostile work environment. We want to know if this company is being led by someone with integrity or someone who thinks rules don't apply to him. The words hit Julian like physical blows. He looked around the table at faces he had known for years. People he had worked with, celebrated victories with, built this company alongside. They all looked disgusted. What happens now? He asked. Robert glanced at the other board members. Some silent communication passed between them. You're suspended immediately, Robert said. Pending full investigation. You'll be placed on administrative leave. You'll have no access to company systems, no authority over personnel decisions, no involvement in operations. For how long? Until we complete our review. 2 weeks minimum. Possibly longer. And then? That depends on what we find. If the investigation confirms everything in these documents, the board will vote on your future with the company. Vote on my future? Julian's voice rose. I'm the CEO. I built this company. Did you? Margaret asked coldly. Or did Simone build it while you took credit? The board can't just remove me. Actually, Franklin said, we can. Company bylaws allow for removal of any officer for cause. And you've given us plenty of cause. Julian looked at his father. Dad, you can't let them do this. Robert's face was stone. I'm one vote, Julian. And right now, I'm not sure I would vote in your favor. The betrayal cut deep. His own father siding with the board against him. Ms. Hughes, Robert continued, please coordinate with security. Mr. Carter's building access should be revoked immediately. His company accounts suspended. His corporate cards canceled. Patricia nodded, making notes. This is insane, Julian said. You're treating me like a criminal. You committed crimes, Thomas said flatly. Embezzlement is a crime. Fraud is a crime. If we decide to prosecute, you'll find out just how criminal your behavior was. And Ms. Reeves? Margaret asked Patricia. She's been placed on administrative leave as well. We're conducting a separate investigation into her conduct. However, given that she was a subordinate in this relationship, and given Mr. Carter's position of power, most of the liability falls on him. What about the work Simone created? James asked. How do we properly attribute it going forward? Robert pulled up another slide. We're implementing a comprehensive review of all strategic documents and presentations for the past 6 years. Any work originally created by Simone will be properly credited. We'll issue a statement to shareholders explaining the correction. That'll destroy my reputation, Julian said. Your reputation destroyed itself, Margaret replied. We're just telling the truth. The meeting continued for another hour. Details of the investigation, timeline for review, communication strategy. Julian sat through it all, watching his career dissected, his mistakes catalogued, his future decided by people who used to respect him. When it finally ended, security was waiting outside the boardroom. 2 officers, professional and polite. Mr. Carter, we need to escort you from the building, one of them said. I need to get my things from my office. We've already packed your personal items. They'll be delivered to your home. They walked him through the building, past offices where people stared, past the reception desk where the receptionist couldn't meet his eyes. Word had already spread. Everyone knew. In the lobby they handed him a box. His degrees, his photos, his personal belongings. Everything that had decorated his office for years, reduced to one cardboard box. Your car is in the garage, the security officer said. You'll need to return your parking pass and building access card. Julian handed them over mechanically. These were things he had carried every day for years. His identity reduced to plastic cards. He walked to his car, box in hand, feeling eyes on him the whole way. When he got to his vehicle, he sat inside and just stared at the steering wheel. His phone buzzed. Amber, I gave my statement to HR. I told them everything. I'm sorry, Julian. I have to protect myself. Another message from his brother in California. Dad just called me. Is it true? All of it? Another, from a friend at a competing company, heard about the board meeting. You okay? The messages kept coming. News spreading, people reacting, his world getting smaller with each notification. He tried calling Simone one more time. Still voicemail. He sat in the parking garage for 20 minutes just sitting. Then he drove home to the empty house, the silent rooms, the note still sitting on the kitchen counter. I'm gone. Don't contact me. My lawyer will be in touch. For the first time since this started, Julian cried. The London office of Carter Industries occupied 4 floors of a gleaming building near Canary Wharf. Through floor-to-ceiling windows, Simone could see the Thames winding through the city, boats leaving white wakes on the grey water. The sky was overcast, typical for January, but somehow the light felt clearer than anything she had seen in months. She had arrived 3 days ago, taken a week to get settled before starting work. The company had arranged a furnished apartment in South Kensington, a bright space with high ceilings and large windows. Nothing like the cold showpiece she had left behind. This felt like a home. Now, Monday morning, she walked into the London office wearing a green suit that she had bought especially for this moment. New job, new city, new life. The color felt like a declaration. Simone Carter? A woman in her 30s approached, smiling warmly. I'm Sophie Anderson, Senior Marketing Manager for the European Division. Welcome to London. Thank you. Simone shook her hand, grateful for the friendly face. It's good to be here. Nathaniel is waiting for you in his office. I'll show you up. They rode the elevator to the top floor, Sophie chatting easily about the office, the team, the city. No mention of Julian, no awkward questions about her sudden transfer. Just professional courtesy. Nathaniel Brooks was in his late 40s, tall and composed, with silver threading through his dark hair. His office was less ostentatious than Julian's had been. Functional, professional, focused on work rather than image. Simone. He stood to shake her hand, his grip firm. Welcome to London. I hope your move went smoothly. As smooth as it could, she said. Please sit. He gestured to a chair. I wanted to meet with you before you start officially tomorrow. To discuss your role and to address the situation back in New York. Simone's stomach tightened. What situation? The board investigation. The documents you submitted regarding Julian's conduct. Nathaniel's expression was serious but not unkind. I received copies as part of the European Division leadership team. I want you to know that what you documented took courage. I just told the truth. The truth isn't always easy to tell, especially when it involves someone close to you. Nathaniel leaned forward slightly. I reviewed your portfolio when you applied for this position. The real portfolio showing your actual work. This is brilliant, Simone. Genuinely brilliant. The European expansion strategy alone was worth millions. Thank you. I'm furious that Julian took credit for it. That he took credit for any of it. Nathaniel's voice was controlled but she could hear the anger underneath. I've worked with him on various projects over the years. I thought he was a strategic genius. Now I know better. He is smart, Simone said quietly. He just chose to take shortcuts instead of doing his own work. That's generous of you. It's just true. He's capable. He just didn't want to put in the effort when he had someone else's ideas to steal. Nathaniel studied her. How are you handling all of this? Honestly? Simone considered the question. 3 days in London, living in a new apartment, starting a new position. She had expected to feel sad or angry or scared. Instead, she mostly felt light. Like she had been carrying something heavy for years and had finally set it down. I'm okay, she said. Better than okay, actually. I feel free. Good. Nathaniel smiled. Because I have big plans for you here. The European division is growing faster than we projected. We're expanding into 3 new markets this quarter. We need leadership, strategy, and someone who can build real relationships with our international partners. I'm ready for that. I know you are. Nathaniel pulled up some documents on his screen. I want to be clear about something. This position reports directly to the board, not through Julian. You're not working for him anymore. You're working with me and I value honest collaboration over hierarchy. The relief was immediate. She hadn't realized how much she had been dreading any continued professional connection to Julian. That's exactly what I was hoping for, she said. They spent the next hour discussing strategy, team structure, and upcoming projects. Nathaniel asked her opinion on various initiatives, actually listened to her answers, and took notes on her suggestions. It was collaboration, real collaboration, not just one person taking credit for another's work. When the meeting ended, Sophie was waiting to give her a tour of the office. The European division had 70 employees, most of them young and energetic. The office had an open layout, lots of natural light, plants in every corner. It felt alive in a way the New York office never had. "We're less formal here," Sophie explained as they walked through. "Nathaniel believes in results over appearances. No one cares if you work from home sometimes as long as the work gets done." "That sounds perfect." Sophie introduced her to team members. Marketers, analysts, coordinators. Everyone seemed genuinely happy to meet her. No one asked about Julian. Either they didn't know or they were too polite to bring it up. Her own office was bright and spacious with a view of the river. Someone had left flowers on the desk, a welcome gesture. Simone stood at the window looking out at the city and felt something settle in her chest. This was right. This was where she was supposed to be. That evening, Sophie invited her to dinner with a few team members. They went to a restaurant near Borough Market, all warm wood and good food. The conversation flowed easily, talk about London neighborhoods, favorite pubs, the best places to get coffee. "So what brought you to London?" asked Michael, one of the marketing analysts. Simone had prepared for this question. "Time for a change. I've been in New York for years. Wanted to try something new." "Bold move," Sophie said. "But this division is lucky to have you. Nathaniel has been raving about your work since you applied. He's been very welcoming." "He's a good boss," Michael said. "Fair, direct, doesn't play politics. Complete opposite of some executives I've worked with." The subtle dig at Julian probably wasn't intentional, but Simone appreciated it anyway. Over the next week, Simone threw herself into work. She reviewed every active project, met with every team lead and started mapping out strategies for the new market expansions. The work was challenging and engaging, everything she had loved about marketing before it became tangled up in her marriage. Her phone occasionally buzzed with messages from New York. Updates from Grace about the divorce proceedings. Information from Patricia about the ongoing investigation. News about Julian's suspension. She read them all, acknowledged them, then put them away. That was her past. This was her present. One evening, 2 weeks into her new position, she was working late when Nathaniel stopped by her office. "Still here?" he asked. "Just finishing up a proposal for the German expansion. That's not due until next week." "I know. But I had some ideas I wanted to get down." Nathaniel smiled. "You remind me of why I got into this business. Passion for the work, not just the paycheck. The work is easier to care about when it's actually yours." He nodded, understanding the subtext. "There's been some news from New York. Robert Carter called me this afternoon." Simone's stomach tightened. "What did he say?" "The board has completed their initial investigation. Julian's suspension will continue for at least another month. They're discussing permanent changes to his role." "Changes?" "Demotion most likely. He'll remain with the company but not as CEO. Robert is taking over day-to-day operations temporarily while they search for a permanent replacement." Simone absorbed this. Part of her felt vindicated. Part of her just felt sad. "Robert also wanted me to pass along a message," Nathaniel continued. "He said he's sorry. That he didn't know what Julian was doing, and that you deserved better from their family. That's kind of him. He also said the board is going to issue a public statement correcting the attribution of strategic work over the past 6 years. Your name will be properly credited on all the initiatives you created." This hit harder. Recognition. Acknowledgement. The truth finally in the open. "Thank you for telling me," Simone said. "There's one more thing." Nathaniel looked almost uncomfortable. "Julian has been trying to reach you. Robert says he's been asking for your contact information, trying to find a way to get a message through." "What kind of message?" "Apologies apparently. Wanting to explain." Simone was quiet for a moment. "I don't want to hear it. I understand. But he's been persistent. He can be persistent all he wants. I have nothing to say to him." Nathaniel nodded. "I'll make sure he doesn't get your information through company channels." After he left, Simone sat in her office looking out at the city lights. Somewhere across the ocean, Julian was dealing with consequences. His career damaged, his reputation shattered, his marriage over. She waited to feel satisfaction. Waited to feel victorious. Instead, she just felt tired. And grateful it was over. Her phone buzzed. A message from Sophie: "Pub night this Friday. You should come. Good chance to meet more people." Simone smiled and replied, "I'll be there." She shut down her computer, gathered her things and headed home. The tube was crowded with evening commuters. She stood holding a rail, surrounded by people heading home from work, and felt anonymous in the best way. Just another person in a big city, no longer defined by her husband's name or position. Her apartment was warm when she got home. She made dinner, simple pasta with vegetables. Ate at her small table, reading a novel she had bought at a bookshop near the office. After dinner, she took a bath, letting the hot water ease away the tension. Before bed, she checked her email one more time. Grace had sent an update on the divorce proceedings. Julian's attorneys were offering a settlement. Generous terms, acknowledgement of her contributions to the company, substantial financial compensation. They want to settle quickly, Grace wrote. They know you have all the power here. I think we can get whatever you want. Simone read through the proposed terms. Fair distribution of assets. Her name added retroactively to all the work she had done. A financial settlement that acknowledged her contributions. No contest, no fight, just a clean break. She typed back, accept the terms. I just want it done. She lay in bed that night, listening to the unfamiliar sounds of her new neighborhood. Cars passing, people talking on the street below, the distant wail of a siren. She thought about the woman she had been a month ago. Standing in Julian's office, being told to apologize to his mistress. That woman had seemed so composed, so calm. That woman had been planning her escape. And now here she was. Escape. Free. Starting over in a new city, new job, new life. For the first time in months she fell asleep smiling. Julian stood in his father's study again, but this time he wasn't being called in for a lecture. This time Robert had summoned him to deliver a verdict. 6 weeks had passed since Christmas Eve. 6 weeks of suspension, investigation, and watching his life dismantle piece by piece. The house felt like a mausoleum, every room echoing with Simone's absence. He had tried to hire a cleaning service, but they couldn't make the space feel less empty. The board voted this morning, Robert said without preamble. He sat behind his desk, looking older than he had a month ago. This situation had aged them both. It was unanimous. Julian's hands gripped the arms of the chair. And? You're being demoted. Effective immediately. You'll remain with the company as Executive Vice President of Operations. Salary reduced accordingly. No board seat. No executive authority over personnel. The words landed like hammers. EVP of Operations. A position he had held 8 years ago before becoming CEO. A step backward, a public humiliation. Who's taking over as CEO? He asked, though he already knew the answer. I am temporarily. The board is conducting an external search for a permanent replacement. Someone with integrity. The implied criticism stung. And the financial restitution? Julian asked. You'll repay the company $315,000 over the next 2 years. The board considered legal action but decided against it. Publicly prosecuting the former CEO for embezzlement would damage the company's reputation. Consider yourself fortunate. Fortunate. Julian almost laughed. He had lost his position, his reputation, and his marriage. But yes, he was fortunate not to be facing criminal charges. What about Amber? Robert's expression hardened. Ms. Reeves has been terminated. The investigation found evidence that she was sharing confidential company information with competitors. Whether she was doing it intentionally or because you were pillow talking, we don't know. But the damage is done. Julian felt cold. Sharing information? What information? Strategy plans. Client lists. Proprietary data. Apparently, she had a friend at Harrison and Associates. They've launched 3 campaigns in the past 4 months that look suspiciously similar to our proposals. Harrison and Associates was their biggest competitor. If Amber had been feeding them information, did she admit it? She claimed she didn't know the information was confidential, that you had shared details casually and she mentioned them in conversation with her friend. Whether that's true or not, the result is the same. We've lost competitive advantage because of your relationship with her. Julian thought back to all the times he had talked about work with Amber. Strategy sessions, client concerns, upcoming proposals. He had thought he was impressing her with his business acumen. Instead, she had been mining him for information. So she's facing charges? We're pursuing civil action for breach of confidentiality. Whether we'll win is unclear. But she's unemployable in this industry now. Her name is circulating as a liability. There was a certain satisfaction in that, but it felt hollow. They had both destroyed each other's careers. What a pair they made. What happens now? Julian asked. You report to work on Monday. You'll be introduced to your new supervisor. You'll handle operational logistics, coordinate with department heads, manage efficiency programs. The work you should have been doing instead of stealing credit and having affairs. Who's my supervisor? Nathaniel Brooks. He's returning from London to oversee a restructuring. You'll report to him. The irony wasn't lost on Julian. Nathaniel, who now worked closely with Simone. Nathaniel, who knew exactly what Julian had done. And the public statement? About the work attribution? Robert pulled up a document on his computer. The board is releasing this tomorrow. Julian read it. A carefully worded statement acknowledging that significant strategic work previously attributed to the CEO had been developed by Senior Marketing Director Simone Carter. A list of specific initiatives with proper credit assigned. An apology for the misattribution. A commitment to better internal processes. This will destroy my reputation, Julian said. Your reputation destroyed itself, Robert replied, echoing Margaret's words from the board meeting. This just tells the truth. People will think I'm a fraud. You were a fraud. You took credit for work you didn't do. Julian looked at his father, seeing no sympathy there. Just disappointment. The divorce papers came through, Julian said, changing the subject. Grace Wellington sent the settlement agreement. Are you going to sign it? Do I have a choice? You always have a choice. But if you fight it, everything we've kept quiet will become public record. Every document, every photo, every piece of evidence. Is that what you want? It wasn't. Julian looked at the settlement terms again. Fair division of assets, with acknowledgement of Simone's contributions. She kept the apartment she had in London, fully paid for. He kept the house in New York, though he would probably sell it. Joint savings split evenly. No alimony because she earned her own substantial salary now. Plain. Simple. Final. I'll sign it, he said. Good. Robert pulled out another folder. And you'll sign this too. A formal apology letter to Simone, acknowledging your conduct. It won't be made public unless you violate the terms of the divorce agreement. Julian read the letter. Drafted by attorneys but accurate in its content. Admission of the affair, admission of stolen credit, admission of abuse of power. Everything laid out clearly. If I sign this, she can use it against me. Only if you give her reason to. Sign the divorce papers, accept the demotion, repay the money and move on with your life. Do all that and this letter stays private. Julian signed both documents. After leaving his father's office, Julian drove aimlessly through the city. It was late February now, cold and gray. He ended up at a coffee shop near the old apartment where he and Simone had lived when they first got married. They had been happy then. Poor but happy. He was just starting at Carter Industries, she was finishing her MBA. They had stayed up late talking about their dreams, their plans, how they would build something together. Somewhere along the way he had forgotten that. Had started seeing her as support staff rather than a partner. Had taken her ideas and convinced himself they were his. Had believed his own hype. His phone buzzed. Amber calling. He let it go to voicemail. She had been calling for weeks, increasingly desperate. Her termination had hit hard. No job, no references, and rumors spreading through the industry. She wanted him to help her, to use his influence to get her another position. He had nothing to offer her. He barely had a position himself anymore. The voicemail notification popped up. He listened to it. Julian, please call me back. I need help. I can't get interviews anywhere. People are saying things about me. This isn't fair. You promised you would take care of me. Please. He deleted the message. Their affair seemed like something from another life now. The excitement, the secrecy, the thrill of it. It had all been so shallow. He had risked everything for something that meant nothing. He thought about Simone in London. Building a real career, earning real respect, living a real life. While he sat in a coffee shop, demoted and diminished, drinking cold coffee and facing an empty future. His phone buzzed again. A text from his brother. Dad told me about the demotion. I'm sorry, man. Let me know if you need anything. Another text from a friend. Saw the company announcement. That's rough. You okay? More messages, more people reacting to news that was spreading. By tomorrow everyone would know. The former CEO of Carter Industries, demoted because he stole his wife's work and had an affair with a subordinate. That would be his legacy now. Julian finished his coffee and headed home. The house was dark when he arrived. He had forgotten to leave lights on. He walked through empty rooms to the kitchen and found a bottle of wine. Poured a glass. Sat at the table where Simone had left her note 2 months ago. He pulled out his phone and opened Simone's contact. His thumb hovered over the call button just like it had dozens of times before. But he didn't call. What would he say? I'm sorry? That was inadequate. I love you? That was too late. I made a mistake? That minimized years of choices. There were no words that would fix this. He put his phone away and drank his wine in the empty house, listening to silence and thinking about everything he had lost. Spring arrived in London with unexpected warmth. Cherry blossoms opened in the parks, and the city seemed to wake up after a long winter. Simone walked to work most mornings now, enjoying the exercise and the chance to see her new city. 6 months since leaving New York. 6 months since Christmas Eve. It felt like a lifetime. The European division had thrived under her leadership. The German expansion launched successfully, ahead of schedule and under budget. The French partnerships she had negotiated were bearing fruit. The team had grown by 15 people, all talented professionals excited about the work. Nathaniel had returned to New York to help with the restructuring, leaving Simone in charge. She was effectively the CEO of European operations now, though the formal title hadn't been announced yet. It was coming though. The board had hinted at it in their last review. "Morning, boss," Sophie said as Simone arrived at the office. Sophie had become a good friend over these months, along with several other team members. They went to pubs after work, explored the city on weekends, lived normal lives. "Morning. How did the Amsterdam meeting go?" "Fantastic. They want to expand the partnership. I'll have the details by this afternoon." "Perfect." Simone settled into her office and reviewed her schedule. Team meeting at 10, client call at noon, strategy session at 2. A full day, but the kind of full that felt energizing rather than draining. Her phone buzzed. Grace calling from New York. "The divorce is final," Grace said when Simone answered. "Papers were signed this morning. You're officially free." Simone felt something release in her chest. "That's it? It's done?" "It's done. Settlement executed, all terms fulfilled. Julian signed everything without contest." "How is he?" Simone asked, surprising herself. "According to my sources, he's adjusting to his new position. Keeping his head down, doing his work. No more scandals, no more." "And Amber?" "Facing a civil suit from Carter Industries. No criminal charges, but she'll be paying damages for years. And she's unhireable in this industry. Last I heard, she left New York." Simone felt no satisfaction in that. Just a distant sadness for the waste of it all. "Thank you for everything, Grace. You were amazing through this. You did the hard part. I just filed the papers. What you did, leaving like that, with such a clear plan. That took real strength." After hanging up, Simone sat quietly for a moment. Divorced. Officially single for the first time in 6 years. She waited to feel something dramatic, some big emotion. Instead, she just felt peaceful. The team meeting went well. They were planning the Italy expansion now, and everyone had ideas. Michael suggested a social media campaign targeting Milan. Sophie wanted to partner with local influencers. Simone listened to all of it, adding her thoughts, guiding the strategy. This was what work should feel like. Collaboration. Creativity. Mutual respect. After the meeting, she had lunch with Sophie at a cafe near the office. "You seem happy," Sophie observed. "Happier than when you first arrived." "I am happy," Simone realized. "I really am." "Good. You deserve it." Sophie paused. "Can I ask you something personal?" "Sure." "Your ex-husband, Julian Carter. Was it hard leaving like that?" Simone had known this conversation would come eventually. It was necessary. "And once I decided, it was easier than I thought it would be." "The company announcement about the work attribution. That was about you, wasn't it?" "Yes." Sophie shook her head. "I can't imagine having someone steal your work like that. For years. At first, I told myself it was fine. We were married, we were a team. His success was my success." Simone stirred her tea. "But it wasn't a team. It was him taking credit while I did the work. And once I realized that, I couldn't unsee it." "So you planned your exit?" "For 3 months. Quietly. Carefully. And when he gave me an ultimatum on Christmas Eve, I was ready." "What was the ultimatum?" "He wanted me to apologize to his girlfriend for creating a hostile work environment. If I didn't, he would demote me and cut my salary." Sophie's eyes went wide. "His girlfriend? While you were married?" "While we were married. While we worked at the same company. While I was outranking her." "What did you do?" Simone smiled, remembering. "I said okay. Then I went home, packed my things, and sent evidence of everything to the board at midnight. By morning, he was suspended and I was on a plane to London. That's the most amazing thing I've ever heard. It was just the truth. I documented everything, kept records, and when the time was right, I told the truth." They finished lunch and walked back to the office. The afternoon passed quickly. Strategy sessions, client calls, team coordination. All the things Simone was good at, all the work she had always done. But now it had her name on it. That evening there was a company event. A reception for European partners, held at a hotel near the Thames. Simone wore a blue dress, simple and professional. She circulated through the crowd, making conversation, strengthening relationships. Simone Carter? A man approached, holding a glass of wine. He was tall, maybe 45, with an easy smile. I'm Christopher Hayes. I'm an architect working on the new Berlin office design. Nice to meet you. She shook his hand. How are the designs coming? Well, I hope. I'd love to get your input actually. You'll be using the space after all. They talked about office layouts, natural light, collaborative spaces. Christopher was thoughtful and attentive, actually interested in her opinions. The conversation flowed easily. I have to say, Christopher said, I've been following Carter Industries' European expansion. The strategy is brilliant. Is that your work? Most of it, yes. I thought so. I read the company statement about attribution corrections. Must have taken courage to set that record straight. It just needed to be said. They talked for another 20 minutes before Christopher had to leave. He handed her his business card. If you have time, I'd love to show you some of the design concepts. Get your feedback before we finalize anything. I'd like that, Simone said and meant it. After the event, Sophie pulled her aside. That architect was definitely interested in more than office design. Simone laughed. Maybe. Or maybe he just wants feedback on his work. Simone. He gave you his personal cell number. That's not about office design. I'm divorced as of this morning. I'm not thinking about dating yet. You don't have to date him. But maybe think about it eventually? Not all men are like Julian. That night, Simone sat in her apartment looking out at the city lights. Her phone sat on the table, Christopher's card next to it. She wasn't ready yet. But someday maybe. When enough time had passed. When the wounds had fully healed. For now she was content with her work, her friends, her new life. That was enough. Her laptop dinged with an email. Nathaniel, writing from New York. Simone, the board met today. They want to make your CEO title official. European operations, full authority, board seat included. Announcement next month. Congratulations. You've earned it. N. Simone read the email 3 times. Geo. Not stolen credit, not her husband's reflected glory. Her own title, her own authority, earned through her own work. She typed back, thank you. I'm honored. Ready to make this division the best in the company. She hit send and closed her laptop. Tomorrow she would celebrate with her team. Tomorrow she would call her parents and share the news. Tomorrow she would start planning the next phase of growth. But tonight she just sat in her peaceful apartment, drinking tea, feeling grateful. She had escaped. She had survived. And now, finally, she was thriving. The email arrived on a Tuesday morning, 8 months after Simone had left New York. She was in her office, reviewing quarterly reports when the notification popped up. Subject, need to see you. Sender, Julian Carter. She stared at it for a long moment. They hadn't communicated directly since Christmas Eve. Everything had gone through lawyers, through the company, through intermediaries. Clean, professional, distant. She almost deleted it without reading. But curiosity won. Simone, I know you don't want to hear from me. I know I don't deserve your time or attention. But I'm in London. I need to see you. Please. Just once. 10 minutes. That's all I'm asking. Julian. Her first reaction was anger. How dare he come here, to her city, to her new life? This was her space, her escape. He had no right. Her second reaction was curiosity. What could he possibly have to say after 8 months? Her third reaction was clarity. She didn't owe him anything. Not her time, not her attention, not even a response. She deleted the email and went back to work. 10 minutes later, her assistant knocked on her door. Miss Carter, there's someone here to see you. Julian Carter. He doesn't have an appointment, but he says it's important. So he had come to the office. Of course he had. Tell security to escort him out, Simone said calmly. And make sure he doesn't get past the lobby again. Her assistant nodded and left. Simone tried to focus on her reports, but her concentration was broken. Julian was here in London in her building. The audacity of it made her furious. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Please, Simone. I just need to talk. I'll wait outside as long as it takes. She blocked the number. Sophie appeared at her door. Is everything okay? Security just escorted someone out. It's fine. Just someone who can't take no for an answer. Your ex? Yes. Sophie's expression hardened. Want me to call the police? We can get a restraining order if he's harassing you. I don't think it'll come to that. But thank you. Simone made it through the rest of the day by sheer force of will. Work meetings, conference calls, team coordination. Normal things. Productive things. But in the back of her mind, she kept wondering why Julian had come. What could he possibly want? That evening, as she was leaving the office, her phone rang. Robert Carter. She considered not answering, but Robert had always been kind to her. Whatever this was about, he deserved the courtesy of a conversation. Hello, Robert. Simone. I'm sorry to bother you. I know you're busy. It's fine. What can I do for you? Julian is in London. He came without telling me, without permission from the company. I just found out this afternoon. He tried to see me today. Security removed him from the building. Robert sighed heavily. I'm sorry. I don't know what he's thinking. Do you know why he's there? He wants to apologize. To explain. He's been fixated on it for weeks. I told him to leave you alone, that you had moved on, but he wouldn't listen. There's nothing he could say that would change anything. I know that. You know that. But Julian... Robert paused. He's not handling things well. The demotion, the divorce, the public statement. It's been hard on him. That's not my problem. I know. You're absolutely right. But as his father, I'm worried about him. And I'm worried he's going to do something stupid. Like what? I don't know. That's what worries me. Simone, I'm not asking you to forgive him or take him back or anything like that. I'm just asking, if he tries to contact you again, could you just tell him to leave you alone? Clearly? So he can hear it. Simone thought about it. She could keep blocking, keep avoiding. Or she could face him once, say what needed to be said, and end this for good. If he reaches out again, I'll give him 5 minutes, she said. But only to tell him it's over and he needs to move on. Nothing more. Thank you. That's all I'm asking. After hanging up, Simone felt unsettled. She went home, made dinner, tried to relax. But her mind kept returning to Julian. Why now? Why after 8 months of silence? The next morning, there was a delivery at her apartment. A bouquet of flowers, white roses. The card read, I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I need you to know how sorry I am. Jay. She threw them in the trash. At work, there was another email. Longer this time. Simone, I know you don't want to hear from me. I know I destroyed everything good in my life. But I need you to understand what happened. Not as an excuse, but as an explanation. I got lost in the position, in the power, in trying to prove I was as smart as everyone thought I was. And instead of doing my own work, I took yours. Instead of being a partner, I became a thief. Instead of honoring our marriage, I betrayed you. I know saying sorry doesn't fix anything. But I am sorry. More than I can express. And I need you to know that you were right. About everything. The work was yours. The success was yours. I was just taking credit. I see that now. Please just give me 5 minutes. I'll leave London after. I'll never bother you again. I just need to say this to your face. Julian. Simone read it twice. The words sounded sincere, but she had heard Julian's sincere voice before. When he promised to love her forever. When he swore he was working late. When he said she was imagining things. She forwarded the email to Robert without comment. That afternoon, she was meeting with Christopher Hayes to review the Berlin office designs. They had been in regular contact over the past few months, professional conversations that occasionally included personal elements. He was kind, intelligent, and respectful. Nothing romantic had developed, but there was a friendship forming. They met at the architecture firm's office, reviewing renderings and floor plans. Christopher explained his vision for the space, how natural light would flow, how collaborative areas would be balanced with private offices. This is beautiful, Simone said, studying a rendering of the main work area. You've really thought about how people will use the space. That's the goal. Architecture should serve the people, not the other way around. They talked for 2 hours, losing track of time in the creative discussion. When they finally finished, Christopher walked her out. I have a confession, he said as they reached the street. I've been wanting to ask if you'd like to have dinner sometime. Not as a business meeting. Just dinner. Simone smiled. I'd like that. Really? He looked surprised, pleased. Really? I'm not looking for anything serious right now. But dinner with a friend sounds nice. Then let's do it. Friday? Friday works. As she walked to the tube station, Simone felt lighter. Life was moving forward. New work, new friends, new possibilities. Her phone buzzed. A voicemail from a London number she didn't recognize. Against her better judgment, she listened. Julian's voice, strained and tired. Simone, I'm at the Claridge Hotel, room 412. I'll be here for 2 more days. Please. Just 5 minutes. I'm not trying to change your mind about anything. I just need to say what I should have said months ago. Please. Simone stopped walking. People flowed around her on the busy sidewalk. She stood still, phone to her ear, listening to the desperation in his voice. She could ignore it. She could block him completely. She could continue on as if he didn't exist. Or she could face him once, say what needed to be said, and end this chapter completely. She made a decision. She texted the number back. Tomorrow. 10 a.m. The lobby of your hotel. 5 minutes. That's all you get. The response came immediately. Thank you. I'll be there. That evening she called Robert back. I'm meeting with Julian tomorrow, she said. Are you sure? 5 minutes in a public place. Then I'm done. He needs to hear from me directly that it's over. That I've moved on. That he needs to do the same. Thank you for doing this. I know it's not easy. It's necessary. For both of us. That night, Simone slept poorly. She dreamed of Christmas Eve, of standing in Julian's office, of the moment everything changed. She woke before her alarm, made coffee, and stood at her window watching the sun rise over London. She dressed carefully in a maroon suit, professional and confident. This wasn't about impressing Julian. This was about showing him exactly who she had become without him. At 9:45 she walked into the Claridge Hotel. The lobby was elegant and quiet. Julian was already there, sitting in a chair near the windows. He stood when he saw her. He looked different. Thinner, older. His suit was expensive but hung a bit loose. His face showed the toll of the past 8 months. Simone, he said. Thank you for coming. 5 minutes, she replied, not sitting. That's what you have. He nodded, understanding. I won't waste it. I need you to know that I understand what I did. All of it. Taking your work, claiming your ideas, threatening your career. I understand that it was theft. That I built my reputation on your talent while giving you nothing in return. Good. You should understand that. And the affair. Julian's voice cracked slightly. I can't explain it. I can't justify it. I was flattered, I was stupid, I thought I could have both. But mostly I think I was scared. Scared of what? That you were smarter than me. That you were the real talent. That if people knew the truth, they would see I wasn't the genius everyone thought I was. He looked at the floor. So instead of doing my own work, I took yours. And instead of being grateful for an incredible partner, I pushed you away by having an affair. Simone listened, her face neutral. These were words she had needed to hear 8 months ago. Now they just felt empty. And Christmas Eve. Julian looked up, his eyes red. Making you apologize to Amber. Threatening your job. That was unforgivable. I was trying to control a situation that was already lost. Trying to keep you both when I didn't deserve either of you. You're right, Simone said. It was unforgivable. You used your power to humiliate me. You tried to make me bow down to protect your affair. That showed me exactly who you had become. I know. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I know you are. Simone's voice was calm. But it doesn't change anything. You're sorry because you got caught, because you faced consequences, because you lost what you had. If I hadn't documented everything, if I hadn't left, you would still be doing it. Julian flinched but didn't argue. Your 5 minutes are up, Simone said. Here's what I need you to understand. I'm done. We're done. I've moved on. I have a new life, new work, new possibilities. I'm happy, Julian. Really happy. And it has nothing to do with you. I know you've moved on. Robert told me about your promotion. CEO of European Operations. That's amazing. It's what I earned. Without you taking credit for it. You're right. You earned all of it. Julian took a breath. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm not asking for another chance. I just needed you to know that I understand what I lost. That I see you clearly now. That you were the best thing in my life and I destroyed it. Yes, you did. Simone picked up her bag. Goodbye, Julian. Don't contact me again. She walked out of the hotel without looking back. 1 year. 365 days since Christmas Eve. Simone sat at her desk in the London office, reviewing the year-end reports, and allowed herself a moment of reflection. The European division had exceeded every target. Revenue up 40%. Market share doubled in 3 countries. Employee satisfaction at an all-time high. The Berlin office was opening next month, the beautiful space that Christopher had designed. Christopher. They had been dating for 4 months now, taking things slow but steady. He was kind, funny, completely secure in his own career. He asked her about her day and actually listened to the answers. He celebrated her successes without trying to claim any part of them. It wasn't passionate, burning love. Not yet, maybe not ever. But it was solid, respectful partnership. And after Julian, that felt like everything. The board had made her official CEO of European operations in September, with full authority and a seat on the international board. Her parents had flown over for the celebration, proud and excited. Her mother had cried, saying she always knew Simone would do something amazing. The divorce was finalized months ago. Julian had signed everything without contest, had paid back the company, had accepted his demotion. According to Robert, he was doing okay. Working hard, keeping quiet, trying to rebuild his reputation one day at a time. Amber had left the industry entirely, last heard working in real estate in Florida. Far from the business world where she had burned her bridges. Robert had visited London twice, taking Simone to dinner both times. They talked about business, about the company's future, about everything except Julian. Robert treated her with the respect she had deserved all along, consulting her on major decisions, valuing her input. The relationship was better now than it had been when she was married to his son. Funny how that worked. Her phone buzzed. Sophie, pub night tonight? Celebrating year-end numbers. Simone smiled and texted back, definitely. I'll buy the first round. The team had grown close over the year. They worked hard together, celebrated together, supported each other. It was the kind of work environment Simone had always wanted to create. At 6 p.m. she shut down her computer and headed out. The December evening was cold but clear. Christmas lights decorated the streets, cheerful and bright. She thought about last Christmas Eve, standing in Julian's office, being humiliated and threatened. That felt like another lifetime. Another person. The pub was crowded and warm. Her team was already there, laughing and talking. Christopher was there too, having stopped by after work. He stood when he saw her, kissed her cheek, pulled out a chair. To Simone, Sophie raised her glass when everyone had drinks. Best boss, best leader, best addition to London we could have asked for. Hear, hear, the team echoed, glasses clinking. Simone felt her eyes water slightly. This was what success looked like. Not stolen credit or power plays. Just good work, good people and mutual respect. They stayed until closing, laughing and telling stories. Christopher walked her home, holding her hand, talking about the Berlin office opening. You know, he said as they reached her building, I'm really proud of what you've built here. The division, the team, everything. Thank you. And I'm proud of you. For leaving a bad situation and building something good. She kissed him, gentle and warm. Thank you for being patient with me. I wasn't ready for this when we met. And now I'm ready. For you, for this, for whatever comes next. Inside her apartment, she made tea and sat by the window. London sparkled below, full of life and possibilities. Her phone dinged. An email from the company newsletter. The year-end summary, highlighting achievements across all divisions. There was a section about the European division, about the growth and success. And right there in print was her name. Under the leadership of CEO Simone Carter, the European division has achieved unprecedented growth. Her name. Her title. Her achievements. She had spent 6 years having her work attributed to Julian. Now finally she had her own credit. Her own reputation. Her own success. Her laptop was open on the table. On impulse, she opened a blank document and started writing. Not a business plan or strategy document. Just thoughts, reflections on the past year. A year ago, I stood in my husband's office while he demanded I apologize to his mistress. He threatened my career, my income, everything I had worked for. And in that moment, I made a choice. Not to fight, not to argue, but to simply leave. I had spent 3 months preparing for that moment. Documenting, planning, building my escape route. When he thought he was breaking me, I was actually freeing myself. The documents I sent at midnight on Christmas Eve weren't revenge. They were truth. Everything I sent was factual, documented, verifiable. I didn't destroy Julian's career. I just removed my contributions from it and let people see what remained. And what I found on the other side of that decision was something I didn't expect. Not just career success or financial independence, though those came too. What I found was peace. I found work that I loved without the weight of someone else taking credit. I found friendships built on mutual respect. I found a city that felt like home in a way New York never did. I found myself again, the person I had been before I let someone else define my worth. Would I change what happened? No, because it led me here. To this life, this work, these people. To understanding my own strength. To knowing that I can build something meaningful on my own terms. Julian taught me something valuable, though not in the way he intended. He taught me that I don't need someone else's approval or credit to be successful. He taught me that sometimes the only way to win is to stop playing someone else's game and start your own. I'm grateful for the lessons, even if I'm not grateful for how I learned them. And mostly, I'm grateful for the woman I became after leaving. Stronger, clearer, more certain of my own value. That woman was always there. She just needed permission to step forward. So thank you, Julian, for showing me what I'm capable of surviving. For proving that I'm stronger than I thought. For teaching me that the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's living well. It's thriving. It's building something beautiful from the ashes of something broken. And that's exactly what I've done. Simone saved the document and closed her laptop. Outside, the city glowed with Christmas lights. Inside, she sat in her peaceful apartment, drinking tea, feeling content. Her phone buzzed one more time. Robert, sending a brief message, board meeting next week. Want to discuss your 5-year plan for European expansion. Also wanted you to know, Julian asked about you. I told him you were thriving. He said he was glad. Thought you'd want to know. Merry Christmas, Simone. She read it twice, then replied, thank you for letting me know. Merry Christmas to you too, Robert. She thought about Julian working in his reduced position, living in the house they had shared, dealing with his choices. She didn't feel anger anymore. Didn't feel satisfaction in his consequences. Just a distant sadness for the waste of it all. But mostly she felt grateful. Grateful she had left. Grateful she had planned carefully. Grateful she had valued herself enough to walk away. The next morning, Simone woke early. The sun was rising over London, turning the Thames gold. She made coffee, dressed in a bright red suit, and headed to the office. There was work to do. A 5-year plan to draft. A Berlin office opening to finalize. A team to lead. A life to live. As she walked through the London streets, briefcase in hand, she passed a young woman in business clothes, looking stressed and overwhelmed. The woman was on her phone, arguing with someone, her voice tight with frustration. Simone almost stopped, almost said something. Some reassurance that it would be okay, that you could survive difficult things and come out stronger. But she didn't. That woman would find her own path, just like Simone had found hers. Instead, Simone continued to work, to her team, to her future. The sun was shining. The city was alive. And she was exactly where she was supposed to be. 1 year ago, she had said, okay, to an ultimatum that was designed to break her. That simple word had been the first step toward freedom. Now, a year later, she understood that okay had been the most powerful word she could have chosen. Not surrender but strategy. Not weakness but strength. She had played the long game. And she had won. Not by destroying Julian, though that had happened as a consequence. She had won by building something better, by becoming someone stronger, by creating a life that was fully and completely her own. The Christmas decorations sparkled in shop windows. Office workers hurried past with coffee cups and briefcases. London moved around her, vibrant and alive. Simone smiled. She was home.